Hi, I'm Steve. Wow, that was weak sauce. Let me try that again.
Yeah.
I'm Steve. Welcome back to the Wedding Photo Hangover podcast, the finest phototainment in the world. We are an irreverent look at photography. This podcast, like aspirin, will help you recover from your wedding hangover. And this week, we're going to help out a little bit more than usual because Dustin isn't here. He might jump in. I sent him the Josh Dat chat so he could jump in. But tonight I'm instead joined by one of my guiding stars in the photography world, Mr. Josh Withers himself.
Just a technical note: Dustin won't be joining us. He's in the boot of my car. So until I let him go, there'll be no Dustin here. But mate, thank you so much for having me. It's a as we say down under, it's a bloody honor to be here, mate.
What does that mean? Wow.
It's me being nice. I'm saying it's good to be here. But I'm
earlier
pumping it up.
when my son came on this video chat for a few seconds to talk to you, you didn't get to say any Australian stuff because he wasn't interested because
He
it's
didn't
not
care
Fortnite
at all.
So now you're just going like full Aussie on me. Just
look, Cobber. When you join an Aussie Zoom call, you're going to be able to get some Aussie chat. Okay.
Fair enough.
We're not here to throw shrimp on the barbie, mate. We're here to make a bloody podcast.
So, Josh, how are you doing? How are things going in Australia?
So a couple of things going on in Australia today. One of them, we're due for a baby at any second now. So if I have to just kind of, run, that means that somehow labor has been going for a number of hours without me knowing, and we'll have to go give birth to my second child. Yeah. So Brit's just in the bedroom resting, hoping, praying to give birth any second now.
Brit's just in the bedroom having contractions while you're talking to me. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, but
she's actually in the water birthing pool that you guys have in your bedroom.
This is actually the Gold Coast University Hospital. I've just ducked out of the suite for a second just to come and do a bit of a potty, and I'll jump back in there when she's ready to. Yeah, like why waste time when she's not, when the centimeters aren't a large number. Why, I'm of no use in there.
How many centimeters are we looking for here? Like
a couple,
3,
more, probably
couple?
more. Yeah, more than that. Higher number.
I love this. I love this because the last person who was on the podcast was Ulysses, and the previous time he was on the podcast was right before he had a baby, and you were the last guest before Ulysses, and now you're about to have a baby. I feel like maybe the wedding photo hangover is helping people make babies. Is that what's going on here?
Podcasts are having babies now. This is a new phenomena in the wedding industry. At first, there were computer-generated marriages thanks to Tinder and the algorithms of different dating apps, but we've moved past that now, and now podcasts are procreating. It's a beautiful thing.
I love it. Can my podcast get a Tinder, and is that something that can happen as well?
It's 2021.
Can the
Honestly, anything can
podcast
happen.
date?
Anything can happen now. This is a brand new world. Like we've gone through the pandemic. Obviously, by the time this gets released, we'll be completely over the pandemic. Life will be completely normal again. And this is a brand new world. There's no rules, Steve. Like we can do whatever we want. Like podcasts can have relationships. Podcasts can make babies. Presidents can be anyone. It's a brave new world.
Presidents already could be anyone. The last 4 years proved that here in America.
Literally anyone. Like you listening,
Literally.
you can be the podcast president. You just decide, and you are.
Yeah. I'm certainly not going to be the podcast president.
Oh my gosh, we've just had the beep of joining, and Dustin McKibben has entered the room from the boot of my car, from the trunk of my car.
Oh, you let Dustin out? Are you in Indiana? You're that close?
I'm in Indiana. Dustin, I've just told everyone on the podcast that you couldn't join because you were in the trunk of my car, and you have somehow escaped, and I'm personally disappointed.
Your wife let me out. I need to add her to my Christmas list.
That's a real thing. That's the best your wife joke I've heard in a while.
There we go.
So your wife, who's currently experiencing contractions in your bedroom, got up, walked over to the boot of the car, let Dustin out. This is crazy. This is some craziness. Dustin, can you switch your microphone input?
Yep, that's what I'm doing.
There's nothing that Brit is if she's not compassionate. She is a kind and compassionate human. In fact, if I haven't said it on the record on the podcast before, my wife is possibly the kindest, most loveliest person alive.
I'm just going to take your word for it, I guess. I don't know what else to do with that information. Dustin, how are you doing? I'm glad you could join the podcast as our other guest today.
I'm happy to be the guest on the podcast. So much less work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Josh and I had a lot of questions for you. We just really wanted to get into it about your business, the way you run your business, and kind of parse out some tidbits and ways that you could help out the listeners of the podcast who are maybe thinking about starting their own real estate photography business.
Yeah. I'd start by selling all of your gear and just going all in on iPhoneography.
Oh, yeah. So Josh had an interesting question for me, like when we were just pre-gaming before you jumped on. He was wondering how much meth are you allowed to do inside of a house when you're doing the photography there?
As much as you want.
Because
Yeah.
I was watching you live on your Instagram account, I am Sam, and it looked like there was a lot of powder. I didn't know what it was. Actually, side note, is meth powder? I actually don't know.
But Dustin would be the expert
depends
there.
on the climate. It's below zero here currently, so could be sheet of ice meth.
Ice meth.
Yeah, it's all the rage in the States, especially in the
wedding
Midwest.
photo hangover, where we come to find what is in rage in the drug world.
Yeah, here in Indiana, you can actually just get meth sickles now. You can you grow the meth on the roof of your house, and as the snow melts, it actually brings the meth down with it, freezes into these nice little meth sickles. You can just pull them off and take a lick whenever you want.
It sounds methy.
It's we're really revolutionizing the world of meth here in Indiana. In no place other than Fort Wayne. That's where meth is done the finest here in Indiana. So
Capital.
Yeah.
Capital.
Meth capital of
what
Indiana.
an honor. What an honor.
That's why we are encouraging you to visit, Josh.
Not many people know this, but I have fairly close links to the meth community. For example, my home, which I'm not in, and I have been in for the last year thanks to a pandemic, but we bought that from a guy who was a meth dealer. And when we bought it, the front door wouldn't close because the federal police had kicked it in because they, I guess, in some kind of urgent fashion, wanted to talk to him about the meth. And so
have they heard of knocking?
No, the federal police, they just haven't got time. Just got to get in, get out, have a chat.
Now, was this meth or was it heroin? Like, what was he into? Was it maybe like a former Olympic swimmer? Like, what can you tell me about this? I know you guys aren't getting any news there in Australia right now, so.
Yeah, no, this is a great thing about Australia today. We're recording on the 18th of February, sorry, in Australia, is that I'm the news now because Facebook has removed all news from Facebook in Australia. Like literally, if I go to Petapixel's Facebook page in Australia, blank, it's empty. There's no news in Australia. So we just get to make it up now. We just get to say stuff.
You are the epitome of fake news.
Yeah, literally. Just saying stuff now. I'm just making stuff up. Like I'm just gonna start posting on Facebook. There was a car crash outside. I don't know. Maybe there was.
You are
somewhere
like Minority
outside
Report.
there was.
It's like Minority
So he's
Report
predicting it now.
Yeah.
It really is like the Minority Report.
There's like these bald albino people in your basement that are like predicting the news, and you're trying to tell it before it happens.
So are we just going to recap the entire plot of Minority Report
it's called the Withers Report.
The Withers Report. Yeah, because 39-year-old white males in Australia definitely are the minority. We are
Well,
the
just
one.
like
Never
Tom
been. I
Cruise.
don't know. I've never been. I figured it's all kangaroos and then a few white people.
Just a few of us, just not many.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just sitting here, just trying to convince people that our lives matter. That's all we're trying to do. That's my message. It's not my message, please.
Well, it was great to have Josh on this podcast, right? So we could get it canceled. And well, thanks for joining us, everybody.
There
We're
you
bringing
go.
Josh on to talk about meth and how all lives matter. So, wow, real
Best
positive
wedding-
messages putting out today.
This is the best wedding photography podcast the world's going to get this week. This is really good. And somehow we'll just kind of work it into like meth being about the Sony A1 or something like that. That sounds cool.
Talk about Sony secretly being a drug lord.
Oh my God, we've gone there. This is so good. Someone call QAnon. They need to know. We need to get the message out.
Canon?
Canon? Canon's making a drone? Is that true?
Wait, is this
It could be in Australia. So is Australia getting podcasts?
It's happening.
So like if your Facebook page identifies as something that is newsy, we don't see it on Facebook in Australia. Like literally, if I try to copy and paste the link to something newsy, even internationally, not just Australian news, but like New York Times or Daily Mail or whatever, it won't share. It's crazy.
So
I thought that was like a copyright thing. Is that not a copyright thing, or is there something else going on over there?
It's because the Australian government wants Facebook to pay news publishers, and Facebook doesn't want to, and so they've just decided.
And it was
to
Google too, right? It's not just Facebook. I thought it was Google.
Yeah, but Google's
wait, time out.
Okay.
Dustin, did you read something before the podcast? You read something? You're not like currently reading this off of a website somewhere. You actually read something before we started recording.
So I discovered Facebook News a few months
which
ago.
they don't have in Australia anymore.
Which apparently they're trying to get more, viewership now that they don't have the Australian. So I'm getting it shoved down my throat a little bit more. And
they've lost that hot kangaroo market.
Yeah, I saw that because I get kangaroo steaks sent to me monthly. And in there was a little letter saying, hey, pretty soon Australians aren't going to get news on Google, potentially. So you need to order more kangaroo steaks because we're going to need the business.
I'm interested in your kangaroo steak subscription. Is that the Dollar Hop Club?
The Hop Dollar Club. It gets constantly confused with the Dollar Hop. It's common misconception. This one's a little bit cheaper, but you got to cut them yourself.
Yep.
And it comes with a razor for your face.
That's good.
No shaving cream though. No shave. It's a cheap subscription. It was a Christmas present. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh my God, what a time to be alive! How are you, Dustin? I haven't seen you in ages. I haven't seen you kind of face to face on a Zoom call because Steve and I are certain that both of us are generally good. Are you also good?
Yeah, I am well. I am healthy. I am getting ready to go to Disney World. Yeah.
How old's your bub now? Are you going to take the newborn to Disney?
I know. I'm crazy. We went to the Florida Keys last month, and we were just like, that went so well that let's go all in. Let's do this Disney thing. Disney is operating at 35% capacity.
So it's lovely.
Yeah. So if you I went to Disney when my daughter turned 3, and I said, I will never come here again because it was just taking small children in lines is awful. And so when I read that it was operating at such a low capacity, I was like, okay, these are lines I could probably handle. And then when they top that off,
so now instead of one child, you're bringing 3 childs.
Bringing 3 childs, yes.
Yeah, the technical term, not children.
3 Julia childs.
Yeah, her too. She's our nanny.
I eat, pray, love my way through Disney.
I wish, at least through Epcot. But yeah, so we're gonna try it. So for those out there who don't know, if you go to Disney before your child turns 3, they are free. You can go as long as you want, and they are free. They can even eat for free.
Oh wow,
So,
they get free
yeah.
food.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait, time out.
Well, with the
Hey,
purchase
welcome
of an
back,
adult, too.
listeners. This is the Facts About Disney Most Everybody Already Knows podcast. I'm joined today by Dustin and Josh, and we're so glad to have you guys here with us. We're just going to flip it over to Dustin real quick to tell everybody a few facts about Disney that most people already know. Take it away, Dustin.
Disney is actually a racist Nazi camp that hides under the premise of a
Mhm.
Mouseketeer centered focus group.
Wow.
Yeah, no, this is all true.
There's
This
a
is
deep,
actually
dark underbelly of Disney that most don't know about.
Wow.
So that's
Yeah,
what I
the-
go for.
the idea of formesicles that we have here in Indiana actually came from Disney. The Imagineers at Disney came up with that.
You know, I once heard that Disney released the movies Frozen and, of course, Frozen 2 and whatnot, and then also
Mhm.
produced the show Disney on Ice to, what's the word? Kind of Google jam, like stuff Google full of Frozen and ice queries to hide the fact that Walt Disney is actually frozen and on ice.
It's true. It's true.
They were sick of all the people doing searches. Is Walt Disney's head frozen in the Disney vault?
So let's make some movies on the stage show.
Let's make some movies. Let's really ramp up Disney on Ice. We're going to take it to the next level.
They're just like, we need to game this SEO. Let's call this movie Frozen. Literally has nothing to do with Frozen, but we'll throw some princesses and maybe a snowman and call it a day.
I'm really looking
So-
forward to the 2022 release of Walt Disney's head.
It's secretly just Olaf.
He voices some of the characters still. That's correct. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a whole Futurama thing they've got going on over there. So, Josh, the reason I wanted to chat with you, other than just catching up, which of course is fantastic, you recently you had sold all of your laptops and other computing devices to go all in on this iPad solution for your celebrancy, for your Lightroom and like photo editing and all that kind of stuff. But then recently you sold your iPad to go back to a laptop?
Yeah. So
And I just don't understand this. It's like you traded in for the future and now you're going back to the past.
I'm not too sure if this is a saying in America, but are you familiar with the concept of pushing shit uphill?
Yeah.
So
Oh.
if you go along with that, eventually you get to the top of the hill, but you've just still got a pile of shit. I've been pushing shit uphill with that iPad Pro for a long time. Multiple iPads. It's a beautiful little unit. It really is, and I can preach about it. It's great. It's lovely. But compared to an Apple Silicon, I'm literally on right now. I'm on a MacBook Air M1. This is the best computer I've ever used and I've ever owned because it just bloody works. And it's so much better and faster than an iPad Pro. I've never been happier than selling that iPad just needed to go. Like, it's a beautiful little computer. It really is. But for doing pro work, I just had to go back to a MacBook, and the M1 got me there. This is a beautiful computer.
So what's it like now that you no longer have a touch screen when you're editing in Lightroom? All your drone photos and landscape and stuff like that you do.
I wasn't really like, I'd sometimes do the whole, the kind of touch, like you do the HSL kind of touch and drag edit. But it's not a game changer. Like it's nice. But you can also just do the HSL adjustment without touchscreen with a touchpad, so it's fine. It really is. I've got a Remarkable 2, which is my current kind of tablet, but obviously not doing any photo or video on it because there's no photo or video capabilities. It's just an e-ink computer, and I use that for note taking, and I also sign all of my marriage paperwork on there because it's just a nice little computer. But I've never been happy to see the back of that iPad Pro. I really wanted that to be a thing. I've been pushing that uphill for the longest time. But the M1 Mac, like, this thing is hot. Like I did might have been a 14-minute 4K video the other day for the Celebrant training I do, and I'm just clicking around a Final Cut Pro, and if it feels like I'm using a workstation, like a big ass fast workstation. Because Final Cut Pro, I'm just clicking and dragging, and it just works. And then you export, and it exported the 14K video. Like the one I did probably took about 18 or 21 minutes or so, and it just works. It's just like a normal computer that just bloody works. And I went, so my MacBook before this was a 16-inch MacBook Pro, like so slow compared to this. This is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Makes me glad I returned mine.
Your 16-inch or your iPad?
16-inch. No, I ordered the 16-inch at the beginning of last year, and then it had some issues, and so they sent me another one, and that one was kind of like having a little bit of issues, but then COVID hit, so I was like, take this as an opportunity to just send it back.
Have you gone M1 yet, Dustin? I feel like you're the kind of guy who's gone M1 already. Surely you've gone M1.
I didn't go M1
surely.
because I don't know if I would use the word stupidly. Steve might use the word stupidly, but I instead bought.
You had a lot of
brand
Kickstarters you wanted to invest in, right?
I bought a new 27-inch iMac this past summer because I was like, I didn't end up with the laptop, but work didn't slow down for me the way I thought it would with COVID, and I needed the processing power. And so instead I bought the new, because they refreshed the iMac last year, but
They did.
not with an M1, unfortunately. But it was still, I felt like a big enough jump from the 2017 I had to make the plunge. And so now I'm just patiently tapping my fingers, waiting for a MacBook Pro 16-inch with an M1 chip.
That baby will fly, man. That'll be the most beautiful little computer. I'll be tempted when it comes out, but I also really appreciate how light and small the 13-inch MacBook Air is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I really want to get a new laptop.
How does the Lightroom work with your M1 MacBook, Josh? Because Lightroom has been slow as balls for me on my iMac, on my MacBook Pro, everywhere. It's just so incredibly frustrating, like the last 3 or 4 months.
So that was the most disappointing thing when I got the 16-inch MacBook Pro. I probably got that maybe about this time last year, so Marchish, maybe late February, March, and I went to the 16-inch because I was just so sick of Lightroom running like dog's balls. I thought,
right,
surely if I can throw enough money at this problem, then maybe it'll just go away. And I don't know whether the what's it called? Not the iPod Pro. What's the iMac Pro. I don't know whether that really solved any of your worries, Dustin, but the 16-inch did nothing for Lightroom. Honestly, it was like the same as running it on my 4-year-old MacBook Pro. So coming to the M1, it runs better. The Lightroom Classic isn't Apple Silicon optimized yet, or at least the last time I looked. It might have upgraded. I feel like I should just double check before.
Nope,
No,
there's no news. No one can fact check you.
Lightroom Classic.
You can say whatever you want over there in Australia.
Yeah, it now supports Linux and iPods. You can run Lightroom Classic on an iPod now, which is really cool. No, so it looks like there's no Lightroom Classic for Apple Silicon yet, but Lightroom, I don't know, just Lightroom. So the kids Lightroom, that's updated for Apple Silicon, and it's fine. Like it's good. Like it's better than the 16-inch, but it's also not revolutionary. So I actually haven't been using Lightroom a lot since I've had the M1. I've been using Darkroom. Also, remember, I'm not pumping out wedding photos, so my workflow is different. But I've been using Darkroom, which is Apple Silicon. What is it called? It's made for Apple Silicon, and it's beautiful with RAWs. It just pumps them in and pumps. It's simple, it's nice, and it just works. Which is the whole philosophy with loving the Apple Silicon stuff. It just works.
And it works fast, and you don't have to depend on the Rosetta translation for Lightroom. And I've heard people are getting like tiny speed boosts with Lightroom on the M1s, but like nothing huge yet.
Yeah. So at some point soon, they're going to drop Lightroom Classic for M1, and that'll be revolutionary. That'll be great.
Unless they're just going to kill Lightroom Classic, force everybody to go over to Lightroom.
You imagine it.
Who could
I
imagine
feel that
pissing off your fan base?
I can see that. I feel like they were trying to do that anyways, and then people, like at one point there was like a hot minute where it was sort of like going to that, and then they're like, "Just kidding, Classic's still here. You just need to download it. Like, here, guys, don't hate us. Don't hate us."
I feel like they don't always understand, like particularly weddings, because a wedding is a different workflow to say maybe your commercial photographer. A commercial photographer could probably get away with shooting on Lightroom. But weddings, you're coming home and you're dropping, what are you dropping, like a couple of thousand frames into Lightroom.
Right.
Imagine all of that syncing up with Lightroom Cloud, like every single wedding. It's like, your Lightroom Cloud is full. Like, I know, man. It's crazy. It's a stupid idea.
I just picture like some sort of family shared plan, and everyone in your family's like, Dad, like, says my phone is full because you sync your Adobe to it. Like, oh yeah, that was just one wedding.
Okay, so pop quiz. So just say Lightroom Classic goes away tomorrow. Like it's literally removed from Adobe Creative Cloud. You just can't access it. Like there's no license for it. It doesn't exist. What do you guys use? Are we going iPhoto? Are we going Capture One? Are we editing in Photoshop like a caveman? Like what are you doing?
Freedom Edits. Have you heard of them? That's what I'm doing.
Bespoke
Bespoke
Tone.
Tone is
Bespoke
shut
Tone.
down, and we're just shipping everything off.
Oh, I know guys there. Like I'm able to kind of get in the back door, and
You're getting in my back door. Is that what I just
Yeah.
heard? Bespoke
Back
Tone's
door.
back door.
That sounds a
My
little bit
back door.
methy. Little bit
plugging
methy.
that back door up with the amount of orders I'm sending in there.
Are you knocking or do you kick the door down?
Oh, it's like the federales. I'm knocking it down.
Like you're at Josh's house.
Yes. Yes. But
So,
no,
yeah, loving the M1.
probably we'll be doing photo mechanic to call, and like Steve said, I outsourced my editing, so editing would get outsourced. It would come back in some format. I would assume that I can just send off to my clients and never look at
I think
them
I'd make
again.
the leap to Capture One.
Have you used
Because
it?
I got rid of Lightroom Classic. I have played around with Capture One. I have not like used it to actually edit anything in full.
It just didn't make sense to me. Like the workflow just didn't really kind of, hit my
Yeah,
brain.
Aperture also didn't make sense to me, but I still somehow used it.
Yeah, I
when I
used
need it.
Aperture before I used Lightroom. That was sort of the old Blu-ray versus HD DVD battle where it was like Lightroom and Aperture came out at the same time, and it was like Final Cut and Premiere. One was an Apple product, one was an Adobe product, and I was like, surely the Apple one will reign supreme. And then I got to college and they're like, so Adobe gives us free software here, so we're only teaching Adobe software.
That's
And I was
great.
like, all right. Guess bought that for nothing.
No, you didn't buy it for nothing because I mean they did cancel it down shortly after you started college. So yeah.
Yeah, Apple made the choice for me. They're like, I hope you liked it because we will no longer be supporting that product.
Do you think that they just had like an internal confusion? Like there was someone who didn't know photography and he heard about the Aperture product and looked at what an f-stop was and just, I guess we're just f-stopping it, and they just closed it down. Like it was just like a bureaucratic thing.
I think it was like, so we bought this company a while ago that makes books and we really need to use them. So we need to figure out a way to get people who use our software to order these books. What if we made this really overly complicated photo editing thing that people could dump their photos in, and like maybe we'll get some book sales out of it? We'll call it,
So
I
you
don't know,
think
iBooks.
Aperture existed to get iBooks to a point where it could compete with Amazon. That's what I'm hearing.
And
Yeah.
that's why Apple's been making movies about photography to bury the Google results about the Aperture conspiracy.
Yes.
That's why
It
Apple
all
makes
makes
movies.
sense now.
Yeah, it's all coming together. It's all coming together. I actually heard it was an inside job.
Yep, it was. It had Denzel Washington. He came in. He was There was a guy that was like hiding inside a broom closet. Wait, no, that's Inside Man. Dang it. Get those two mixed up.
So close.
And you also just ruined Inside Man for anyone who hasn't seen it already. Wow. You didn't even give like a spoiler alert, like, hey, I'm about to spoil Inside Man, a great movie for everybody else.
Just wait for the sequel, Inside Woman. It's a totally different experience.
I'm really looking forward to the more diverse release, Inside People.
There you go. There you go.
So, Josh, I see you highlighting something in our show notes that I assume you want to talk about. Listener Gowringbat PM'd me to share this ridiculous news story that he found on the Daily Dot. It was about this guy who has some very curious views about the way you pose men and women in photos. So basically, the idea is that you can show who's the more, I guess, dominant person in a photo. Josh, is this open for you in Australia? Or, I mean, it is a news story. So,
Yeah, so I can see the link. I just can't share it on Facebook. So unfortunately, no other Australians will be able to find out about this this posing technique. Are we calling it a posing
Mhm.
technique?
Yeah, I think so. So this guy, his name's Rivellino, Alpha Rivellino. He's a terrible piece of shit. I think we could all agree. But anyways, he posted a tweet to the Twitters, and it just had two photos of two couples, and the left photo, it says it has a man and a woman, and the woman's body is facing towards the man's body while the man's body is facing towards the camera. And then in the right photo, the man's body is facing towards the woman's body while the woman's body is facing towards the camera. And his comment was just, left photo, her pussy is looking to his cock. His cock is facing the world. This is correct. Right photo, his cock is looking to her pussy. Her pussy is facing the world. This is wrong. So, Josh, what's your hot take?
Well,
How much do you agree with this person? Everything
whenever
that you
I
just
come to this kind of issue, I always look to the pastor of Mars Hill
do you
Church in
come to
America.
this kind of issue frequently, or
Let's just say more than once. Like more, it's more than it's multiple times, more than once. And Mark Driscoll is famous for saying that a vagina is a penis home. And I don't know why, but he was fired after saying this. Uh, someone didn't like it. And so as much as Rivellino is advocating for one to be facing the world and one to be facing the other, Mark would say should be both facing each other, which I believe is also a popular posing technique. So that's my thoughts on the matter. I'm just saying all
I
genitals matter.
understand, because when I do photos, I do always say make sure the one is inside the other when I'm posing my couples. I'm like, this is the only way I want to see photos on your wedding day is if one of you is inside the other, and I don't care which one it is. That's just how it needs to happen, though.
Yeah.
We're still
There
talking
is
about wedding
also
cake, right?
it's like a wedding cake.
Yeah.
The problem with his technique is you can take it too far, and you can have her pussy looking to his cock facing the world, but it goes too far, and he's facing the one, she's facing behind the cock, and it looks like she's like assaulting him possibly, and you don't want to be putting yourself or your couples in that kind of predicament where they could be possibly facing any kind of litigation for looking like they're assaulting the other in photos that you've taken as a professional photographer.
Mhm.
So this guy Rivellino from the story in the Daily Dot, he became I don't want to say famous. I think I want to say like terrible people famous. He
Like
gained
Mark Driscoll
notoriety.
famous.
Yeah, Mark Driscoll famous. When he put out this thing, it was called Green Lines, and he did a series of things where he said like, "What is sexual polarity?" in a tweet, and he says the feminine wants to lean into the masculine. So then he made these green line T-shirts that have a green line going down the center of this shirt. so that if you look at yourself in a picture and the green line isn't going straight, like up and down, then you know that you're not in a masculine pose in a photo. Was kind of the idea behind this. And he sold these shirts and made money because people buy into this stuff, I guess. I don't, there's so much I hate about this.
You know,
So
the good
much.
news about the green line is, as you can see in my, if you're watching the video feed of this podcast, it doesn't actually get transmitted through camera. So it's like, it's visible to the human eye, but when it's captured by a lens, it kind of, it's like a vampire thing, kind of fades into the background.
Yeah.
Because you don't want green lines in your
it's like,
photos, but you want them as a guide.
my green line isn't showing either. Like, yeah, I totally get that on my shirt. I don't see yours on your shirt. Dustin,
Dustin's
I can't
wearing,
tell
I think he got a counterfeit. I can see your green line, Dustin.
yeah. Oh. It's right next to your Adidas, who I think are a sponsor of Green Lines.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just
Dustin,
like
do you have
JPEG Mini.
thoughts on this? How do you pose somebody to be masculine and
I
correct?
typically like to have both of my couples. I like to shoot them from behind. I find that to be the most masculine version, is showing off the rear.
Their cock and their pussy, neither one is facing the world or the
Exactly.
camera.
They're facing the future, and the world is behind them. In my art,
Which way is your cock facing, Dustin?
my cock is facing them because I am the masculine one creating the art. We call it Toot Caboose photos, and it tends to cover all bases.
Toot Caboose.
That's why we do engagement photos, though, is so we can get these sort of rhetorics into our couples' minds. So on the wedding day, all I have to say is like, okay, guys, Toot Caboose. And they know, turn around, pull their pants down. We're doing the.
I saw one of your
caboose.
behind the scenes videos from a shoot, and you were looking at the couple, and you had your fingers up to your eyes, and you're like, "Look at me, I'm the masculine now."
Sometimes, I'll talk like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I'll say things like, "Now get to the
Tom
chopper."
Hanks. Tom Hanks.
See, I don't think he knows the reference, mate. I don't think he
Tom
gets
Hanks. It's with the volleyball.
No, with the volcano.
The volcano?
With the Zoltron machine and the piano keys, right? Yeah. What are some more? With the box of chocolates and the feather.
Run, Florist, run.
Yeah. Let's run through some Tom Hanks movies. Come on. Sleepless in Seattle.
Sleepless in Seattle.
What about all those ones where what were the ones that QAnon released about him?
Canon?
I don't know what Canon did.
Oh god. What's next on the list before we get ourselves in any kind of legislative issue?
Look, in order to get in legislative issues with this, Tom Hanks would have to listen to this podcast. Colin Hanks is a maybe. He might be a listener. Tom Hanks, his dad, not at all. No, he's in a different stratosphere. Colin Hanks is a man who's like he's a man of the people, like he doesn't do the big Hollywood roles. He does the smaller roles on the televisions and stuff, so he's a guy who could potentially listen to a podcast and get offended for his dad, but not take any action.
I will say we're constantly asked why we include so much, personalized product placement such as JPEG Mini or Patagonia or Adidas. Like we don't want to wear these things. We have to wear these things for the money to keep our legal team on retainer.
Bit of SodaStream there. Please use my coupon code sodastream.com/Josh.
/Josh.
I'm
the only Josh. I'm the only Josh that reps SodaStream. Oh, but yeah. I'm on SodaStream right now, and Josh does work.
So another listener of the show, Gary Harfield, posted in our very own Facebook group, and he said, "Hey, get this. There's a local wedding group for brides and vendors. Obviously, there's a local wedding group for brides and vendors where vendors obviously put in their information to possibly get the jobs of brides who are looking for stuff. But the owner of the group wants to start charging now for vendors to be listed in the group to be a part of it. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, make that money. COVID was a hard
Yeah.
year. Hit everyone while they're down.
Everyone while they're down. I am. I'm actually taking this idea to a complete new level locally, um, where they normally have the meat and the fruit and the veg markets, and there's the guys kind of hollering like, "Get your apples here, $2." I'm actually lining up wedding vendors on the ice, like the ice trays that you put the meat and the fish and everything on, and I'm kind of hollering like, "You want a wedding photographer, like $2?" I put on an Italian accent because that seems to get people. It gets the brides in. The brides love it when they do.
Because you're racist. Got it.
Because I'm racist. Just because I feel like if you're going to go down the meat market edge, just go down that rabbit hole and go full meat market. And I'm doing bundles like get the 2 photographer for one free and that kind of. So you got 3 photographers at your wedding. That's great, isn't it?
You're
So
like,
this
this
is how
one
the
comes
Logan
with an
podcast
iPod. It's like a DJ.
So
And then,
it's a deal.
and then that's when you kind of swing in there as they're checking out, and you're like, we can elope the whole thing and go do it now in the parking lot. And
I'm
that's,
handing
you
out
know,
little samples. Like I'm just like I've got cut up photographs on a tray with little skewers.
Toothpicks.
It's
You're
good.
like, try this one. Wait, hold on. Let me put some sauce on that.
Oh, that's
That's a
perfect. You
little-
just get out there with a Polaroid so you can get the skewer right through the actual people who you're serving at the time. Yeah.
Yeah. It's controversial. I've got to be honest with you. People have had issues with it, but I see it as a real long-term viable business plan.
But you could
Y-
flip it
no
with your
news is
voodoo
bad news.
conferences you do. You skewer the photos, voodoo, skewer the photos, bridal show.
Yeah.
Well, I
Full
mean, you do
circle.
take the skewers are shaped to be like Cupid's arrows, so it's really like a love sort of thing, and that
Oh,
is
yeah.
why you do all these bridal shows completely nude with just a sash around your midsection.
I just love love. What I say.
I just love y'all.
Who doesn't?
Somebody in some random Facebook group I'm in was like, say you're a wedding photographer without saying you're a wedding photographer, and I immediately wrote, I just love y'all, and I don't feel like it got the appreciation it deserved in that group. I'm not gonna
No.
lie.
That's a wedding hangover group kind of joke. You gotta use your discernment, Steve. Align your
I don't
jokes
have
correctly.
I don't have discernment. No.
Well, I've got the 3
So-
discernments for you. 3 discernments for $10. You want some discernment?
So you guys are for against a Facebook group charging money to vendors to list their info there.
I'm for.
Look, I'm not going to impeach anyone's civil liberties. They can have they can do to themselves and their own businesses whatever the f they want. I myself, however, will not be submitting myself to such a meat market. I subscribe to the build a tribe, build a brand, and have people hire me because they like me and care about me and value what I do. Not the meat market solution that this Facebook group is offering.
And Dustin and I also subscribe to the Build a Tribe, Build a Brand
Until
ideal
a bigger
that you
tribe,
just put
bigger
forward.
brand comes in and wants to acquire your tribe. And you're like,
Yeah, and then you allow them to advertise inside your Facebook group, which is why right now you can find a salsa booth for just how much, Dustin?
$2,500.
Via our special Facebook link in our special Facebook group. Get on it.
Ride that pony home. Ride it.
Mm-mm.
Is that really how much they cost? That's a lot of money.
No,
Wow.
it's actually much less than
More?
what they cost.
How's yours working out for you, Dustin? How'd that go? That purchase right before COVID?
Yeah, it was a great purchase right before COVID. It's fantastic. No, actually, it's been prior to COVID, it was really good because one of my main competitors had the same photo booth and she was giving it away for a extreme discounted rate or running some deals with some venues. Like, hey, if you promote me, this couple will get a free photo booth. And so it allowed me to kind of compete with her on, kind of play her game. And so I could go to the same venues and just say like, hey, if you promote me, like when a couple comes in and they're like, who should we hire as a photographer? If you can say me, they can also have a free photo booth.
And a free photographer thrown in.
I throw it in. I'm also giving you a meat platter. Not for the couple, it's only for you. I drop the meat off, you eat it, I come back, I give you bread.
We've kind of slipped from Italian to Soviet there. We're kind of just sliding on over.
We cover all the listenership here at the Wedding Photo Hangover. The Putin, he's a big listener of the podcast.
You book a me, I book a you.
We all book each other.
So from listener Aldrich Mintz in our very own Facebook group before Dustin and Josh just evolve into bad accents.
I book a Aldrich too.
Meanwhile, during the pandemic in Arizona, a rando on Facebook says, looking for a venue that is outside, holds 500 people, 100% refundable deposit, first weekend in May this year. If you cannot help, do not post. No need for advice or comments if they are not a venue willing to do this.
Look, I know this is like a comedy podcast, but seriously, just drop my name in there. I'm looking to earn a couple of bucks. So, yeah. Is this live? No one will hear this, will they?
No. Josh Withers, the venue is all of Australia. Just anywhere in Australia, the Outback. Yeah, you're going to make it happen. Just wow. Dustin, you got thoughts on this?
Well, I live in Indiana, so 500-person weddings are pretty common here. And obviously,
where are those common? I live in the outside of the biggest city in Indiana, one of the biggest cities in our entire country, and 500-person weddings are not common.
They're pretty common here and where I live, and
in the meth capital of Indiana.
Let's just say, to give you an idea, so COVID hit last year. Everyone in the world is shutting down. A lot of wedding photographers' businesses are being thrown under, the lawnmower. And here in Indiana, brides were like, okay, how many people can I fit in my backyard? Like, let's just see if we can get 400 people like in this park. So here it was sort of like business as usual, as long as all government officials are looking the other direction.
I'm more interested in this whole COVID thing you're talking about. Is that like a type of video, like a cooperative video? Sorry, I didn't understand what you're talking about.
Have you heard of Coca-Cola? So it's like it's a new soda. People drank it, didn't quite agree with their tummies, and they died.
It hurt their tum-tums.
That's sad. Oh, is that one where they got the super spicy cough?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The super spicy cough.
Some people call them super spicy spreaders.
That's interesting. I'm looking forward to getting that one.
They come in limited edition colors and quantities. You should come visit and try them.
Come visit and try them. Just come on. If we're down under, you guys up over? Come on up over and give it a shot.
I prefer just come sideways.
Yeah, I don't think we need any like little devices to try to trick people to come to our country. Like, people just want to be here. Like, you don't need like a little saying or anything. It's just like, come to America. It's a great place.
Come to America,
now.
Except for you. That's the posters we see.
Except for you.
Except for you. You're cool. You're cool. Fuck you. You're cool.
Do you guys want to do some Q&A?
Oh, always.
I live for it, Steven.
Let's do some Q&A.
But Steve,
Christopher Withers from our very own Facebook group says, so our next wedding to photograph is February 27th. We put off shooting a few months due to the pandemic. I was hoping to hear how everyone else is doing. Have you been shooting or celebrating? Is that what you call what you do, Josh? Celebrating?
I call it dancing naked in public, but whatever you want to say for the American listeners is fine.
Yeah, cool. I mean,
Dancing.
yeah. Nude dancing. Are you guys on pause? Have there been any interesting situations? Would love to know what's going on. I'm curious what to expect when we return.
So Australia is like probably in a much better position than America, considering like how many new cases of
Christopher
COVID.
probably already knows this because you're brothers, right? Christopher Withers, Josh Withers. It only makes sense.
It's the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm guessing that even though he's in America, that he's possibly my brother and lives in the same country.
Yeah.
All Withers are related somehow.
If you could just start every sentence of your response with brother, I think that'd be very helpful.
Hey, brother, Christopher. I actually do have a brother, Christopher. So currently in Australia, something like 20 people have got COVID. Like it's like, there's a local term we have for it. Fuck all. Have COVID. There's very few people. I think in total, like less than 1,000 people have died. Like something like 900 people have died. Yeah, and so we've dealt with it pretty good. Like everyone, there's been lockdowns, and you know. You can have issues with that. Like we've had hotel quarantine. So if you come in from another country or just out from outside Australia, you've got to quarantine for 2 weeks in a hotel. And even between different states, at various points, you have to quarantine in a hotel for 2 weeks before you're allowed to enter the state.
Is it at least a nice hotel?
Yeah, you know, apparently it has been some nice hotels, but also even the nicest hotel when you've been locked inside for 2 weeks is hell.
You've not met my children.
Yeah. So a friend of mine came back from Germany. Her husband, 2 toddler twins, and the other daughter might be 5 or something. And I couldn't imagine anything worse than being stuck in a hotel with 3 kids.
That's called Disney next week, my friend.
They don't give you a separate room for the kids?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I hope so. But yeah, like you got to pay for hotel quarantine. It's a big deal. So you know, COVID's been fairly well snuffed out. Like 2 guys got COVID in Melbourne and they locked down the whole state for 5 days. They just no one can leave the house for 5 days. So the only real problem with weddings in Australia at the moment is just that uncertainty of like, what if my wedding's in 3 months and 2 guys get COVID and you know, we've got to lock down. So that's the issue.
Are they starting to roll out the vaccine there?
I think it just arrived the other day. So yeah, it's
I like how you say
months.
it sort of like like the milkman showed up with it. Like
no,
I think I
literally-
saw the vaccine guy walking down the street.
Like front page of the newspaper is like a guy with like a forklift thing and he's like rolling it off a something. I don't know.
Amazon plane.
An Amazon plane. They just went to Amazon and just in like max buy. Get it all. Bring it on down.
Prime. Yeah.
So it's great that you said that you know, 2 people in Melbourne got COVID. They shut down the entire state as a result. I'm currently looking at the number of coronavirus cases in our state, Indiana, that Dustin and I live in. 651,453.
Is that all?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
651,453. So
Close.
our
It's
state's
similar
open
numbers.
for business.
Similar numbers.
Yeah. Proportionally, though, I mean,
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I didn't mention my numbers don't include kangaroos. So
ours
0.
don't include
Ours
tigers.
surprisingly does include kangaroos.
Hey boys, I just need 10 seconds to myself. I'm sorry for the pause. I'll speak.
You're good. Wow.
We are still live, though.
Yeah, I know. Josh was just like, he heard how much better Australia was doing at containing the coronavirus, and he just needed to take a second to himself. Like,
Where's this Facebook Live going?
it's just our Facebook group.
Oh, I didn't know if this was to Josh's Facebook group or I just jumped in this half masks and no idea what's going on.
Half mast, which is not what Josh is right now, knowing what the coronavirus numbers are in Australia compared to Indiana.
But on a
He's full mast.
brighter note, my grandmother received her second vaccination today. So she
That's
is
amazing.
fully vaccinated. Now we just have to hope that holds up with all the variants.
Mm-hmm.
That we will.
Oh, little edit note here. And I see Josh has written in the show notes, I am busting to pee.
I've assumed that was.
Oh, Josh, did you have a nice piss?
What was that?
I didn't say anything. So weird. Something was in my throat, I think. Yeah. So that's how things are going for you. How are things going for you? You got any crazy weird stories?
Crazy weird stories. I did want to ask you guys, since I have a candid audience here, and this is a safe place to talk about things. Currently helping a photographer, not myself, navigate just like a terrible client. I've never in my life dealt with a client that's this absolutely like horrendous. Didn't know if either of you guys had dealt with like, so the wedding's already over. Like, I mean, I've had a few
Mhm.
clients where I'm like, oh, this is going to be bad. Like, and then the wedding happens. They see their photos. They're like, oh my God, I love you. I love the photos, blah, blah, blah. Love my celebrant. We're all good. But like for this photographer, like, so like she's bent over backwards. Like they already rescheduled the wedding during COVID. She like showed up after her other wedding to finish this wedding and just like gave them like everything she could. And they've just been like going after her like crazy. And it's just been a horrendous experience. Didn't know like how you guys handle, or if you've ever had to handle just like bad clients after the fact.
I've had so many bad clients, particularly in the last year. I could do 5 days of podcasts. We could do like a podcast-a-thon talking about the absolute lovely people that I've had dealings with, and I will not litigate myself any further. My thing with particularly when it's after the fact is you've just got to set yourself a goal. Like where do I hope this to end up? Like, do I want them to love me, or just do I want them to go away?
Mhm.
And sometimes them going away is just worth your pure sanity. And I'm actually not talking about money or refunds or anything. Like, just what can we do to like shut them up and make them go away? Something like what's their actual issue? Like, they don't like their photos.
So it started off with the photographer in question had cancer last year.
Oh my God.
And so the photos were not delivered in the timely manner that they normally would have been. But the clients knew that, like they were eyes wide open going into the experience.
But she didn't
and
have
so
I might get cancer clause in her contract. Like,
she
rookie
left that.
mistake.
She left, but in her contract, she does not define a deliverable in terms of time. So she delivered them their photos. It took about 6 months to get them their photos, which I think compared to what I've seen some other photographers that don't have cancer, like that's still pretty not like that's no like not out of the realm of normal. Um, so she delivered the photos. Um, and then they complained about the lighting conditions, even though in their pre-consult she had shared with them, I probably wouldn't recommend having an outdoor ceremony at noon in, with no shade or covering. They said, no, we know what we're doing.
You know
We're
what we're
having the
doing?
wedding outside on this golf course with absolutely no shade. She said, okay, but it's going to look, not ideal. And so then they were disappointed with how the lighting looked. And so then again, she recommended for family photos, let's move to the shade to do family photos. Again, the groom being this, apparently, from what I'm told, a very bullheaded individual. No, we want to just do them right here where, we are. Okay, it's gonna not look like any of my photos because I don't typically shoot in full on, noontime sun. And so anyway, so then she had to spend countless hours going back and like softening shadows due to their dislike in, the time of day they chose for lighting and conditions. So she did all that. Plus, she offered video for this package, and the videographer she hired kind of shit the bed on the video, and
Don't they
so
always?
yeah, so she kind of got left holding this bag of shit, and so I
Did
was
she
trying
try
to help.
pushing it up a hill?
We tried, and it was still shit at the top of the hill, as Josh likes to say. Um, but they were just complaining about the length it was taking to get the edits back on both the photos and the video side. And it's just been, and it's not so much like that they're complaining, it's that she would wake up to a text every morning from this groom just saying like, hey, checking on the photos, haven't heard anything back. It was like he almost set up auto texts
Really?
to like check in, and then when he wouldn't hear back from her, he would text her again. Hey, haven't heard from you. Want to check in on the status of this or that. And I was like, does this guy have a job? Like, this is ridiculous. And so finally, when she got them the wedding video, it was like 9 days before she heard from them. I'm like, something just does not make sense in this equation. Like, if they were this needy about getting the wedding video, and then it's 9 days before they even take the time to watch it.
As somebody who has dealt with clients who very much said they wanted to get a wedding video, delivered that wedding video, and then had it take sometimes a year to hear back, I have to say, like, maybe that's normal. Like, not everybody has time to sit down and rewatch, one of the most important days of their life. They experience that in the flesh. Like, why do they need to now view it in the video?
It's kind of like when you go and see a movie at the cinema and then it comes out and it's free on Netflix. Like, oh, I've been to the cinema, thanks. I don't need to watch that.
Right.
Yeah, see, Josh gets it.
Yeah.
I just wish there was some sort of let's call it a task force that would be sort of a resource for anyone in a service-based industry that you can just say like, hey, this client is being just an asshat. I'm turning this over to you. I'm going to pay you $200, and I'm just going to let them know, hey, the asshat task force is taken over from here.
Well,
Oh, yeah, I love that. I love that idea. Just turn it over and just be like, yeah, no, I'm actually turning you over. You won't be handled by Van Elk and Co. anymore. You'll be handled by this client is a dumb piece of shit. LLC.
.com.
That's
if
what
you
I'm turning
guys
you over.
if you guys want to join my wedding mafia for a protection tax, I can look after these kind of things. I'll let me just say that we'll look after you.
I mean, it definitely did come to mind doing some mafiosa type stuff. Because like this client was not only, I mean, just to give you an idea of like the level, they were stalking past clients of hers, reaching out to them and asking them questions like, hey, how long did it take for you to get your wedding photos back? And they're like, well, it's, she said it would take a little bit longer than normal because she has cancer.
Yes. Have you heard of cancer? Give it a bit of a
And
goog. Bit of a googie.
yeah. And it was just like,
And then they were calling up the hospital that she's going to for her cancer treatments and just being like, has she checked in for her chemo yet? Like, we just want to make sure she's there and she's getting healthy so that we can get our photos back.
And I'm serious, those kind of things happened to her. Like, that's how ridiculous this was. Like like I said, he would text her every morning, and she would text like, hey, I have doctor's appointments and checkups today for my chemo.
So I can be alive.
I'm not gonna.
I'm just trying to be alive so I can edit.
Yeah,
your
and it's like,
video.
I'm not gonna be able to get back to you today, probably. And then he would circle back with her like later that evening, like, hey,
Wow.
didn't hear back from you today. wanted to check on the status of our wedding
Back from you
video.
today. Was it because you were throwing up after getting the chemo? Just let me know. Cool.
Yeah.
The Pixar, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
I actually feel the need to deliver like some serious advice just for 20 seconds. Two things.
Mhm.
One, charge more. You've got to elevate your charging structure above those people. Like, have you seen that meme getting around? Like a $50 client. I just want you to know that my money has been hard earned, and I need you to do a good job. Like $5,000 client. Like, yeah, here's payment. I've just made it. Like, you just got to elevate your pricing above people that are gonna give you hell. The
I
second
hate
one,
that meme.
oh
I
man,
hate that
because are you the $50 bloke? Are you the kind
Yes,
of
he
guy?
is.
It's just like,
meme.
hey, I know I've just paid for my burger, but I've worked really hard for that $5 burger. So if you can make sure the
Not
burger's really good,
Not
If you could
Steve.
just
Steve's Steve's like, I've got $50 in my PayPal account. I'm just gonna throw that at something. $50 means nothing to me. I'm white and privileged, and
the other piece of
Yeah,
advice.
so
I'm just
continue,
pulling
Joe.
hypotheticals. I don't know if any of this is true. I don't know if this is
Look,
a real
I
scenario.
paid $5. I paid $5 for the burger. I just don't want you to spit on it or jerk off on it. Like that's all I'm saying.
That's why we're
Protein,
talking
Steve.
about it.
Protein.
Gosh, you've got to charge me. You got to get yourself above people that'll give you hell. I'm not saying everyone's gonna charge I am Sam levels, but just say charge better money. The
I
other
am
one,
Steve,
I am Steve. The other one,
and I am legend.
all of my communication, I view my relationship with my clients as like it's like I'm playing tennis, and I just want to put the ball back in their court, so that every piece of communication, it's like it's then reliant on them. They've got all the information they need. So like I would set hard deliverables like, hey, I'm going to get a video to you in 2024, January the 4th, 2024, and just don't contact me before then. Even feel free to put a little fuck off at the bottom of it if you need to, and just just set up communication that makes sure they don't reply to you.
I love that.
I would shoot that guy. I would literally go around and just punch him in the face.
I know it's 2021, but the photos will make their way back to you in 2024. That's the new contract. Go ahead and sign here. If you don't sign here, then I don't have to deliver it by then.
Hope you guys are still together.
So her package also included 2 wedding albums. And so the couple now is like trying to say like, hey, we're just so done with all of this. Just go ahead and refund us for those wedding albums. Like we don't want to wait another year for like to get wedding albums. And she's like calls me up. She's like, I don't know how to respond to this. Like I don't have the money to refund them for these wedding albums because I'm kind of paying for cancer treatment. So
she said no, because you can just say no. Like
as it says, like just I'm
say
like
no.
I'm like, you've been so proud and like prideful and like gracious in your communication with them. Like why don't like this be the one where you're like, sorry guys, like I've had to pay for like just use the cancer card. She's like refused to use it throughout all of this. And I'm like, just use it. Like it's okay.
Yeah,
Like, make
she
the
can
people
also
feel
just
like
use it,
trash.
Dustin. She
She
did
can just
use
say
it
no.
because you said that she said to them, sorry, I can't. I'm in doctor's appointments for my chemo and cancer all day. So she has used the cancer card and they
She's
didn't
used it as
care.
to like why
They
she won't
didn't
respond.
care.
But
No,
I
no, no.
said use
Dustin,
it as to
they
why you
don't
can't
care.
refund them.
They already know what she's going through and they don't care. These people are not going to be like just throwing off this whole thing because she's like, sorry, I have cancer. I can't refund you right now. They're terrible people. This much is clear. So they're going to keep coming.
I think actually, can we do a group exercise? I'm going to include everyone listening. So everyone listening, you can localize this for yourself. But I'm going to focus in on Dustin. Dustin, look at me in the eyes. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me.
They are beautiful eyes.
Okay, Dustin. If you
Who's
can
the
feel
captain
free
now?
to respond however you want, I would recommend you say no. But honestly, I'm not going to cut you off from this. Dustin, can you please give me
Joshua.
all your money?
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Maybe.
we're having breakthroughs here. We're having so many breakthroughs. All right, Dustin, can you please box up your children and mail them to me?
How much will you give me?
No is the correct answer. But look, we'll do this again.
I don't have to pay you to take them.
We're just gonna say no. We're allowed to say no. No,
I don't know the conversion rate from Aussie dollars to real dollars.
But I will send you my children as soon as possible.
We're just gonna say no. Like I've had, like, my favorite thing this last year has been people have said similar things like, "I will just take the refund then, thanks." I'm like, oh no. Like, no, you just don't get a refund. Like I literally responded. So I don't know what the version of this in America is. It might be Better Business Bureau or something. But there's a thing called the Office of Fair Trading, which is a government branch, and they make sure that all the consumer things are fair and that all the trades are fair. And so one of my couples who changed the date didn't confirm with me, and then I wasn't available for. Then I was available for, and they said, "Oh, we'll just take a refund, thanks." And I said no. And I felt compassion for them because, I liked them before this. And so I gave them a 50% refund. So they lodged a complaint with the Office of Fair Trading. and so I wrote back to them, and we back and forth between the Office of Fair Trading. And the Office of Fair Trading comes back after all of this, and they said, the girls would just like a refund. And I said, I'd like a Porsche, but I'm driving a Mazda and they're not getting a refund. Like, we just don't have to do everything people ask for. Don't mail me your kids, Dustin. I don't have room for more kids. Please don't mail them to me.
My wife's already bubble wrapping them as we speak. They're asleep. That's the best way to mail them.
But I'll send you my PayPal address. Drop me that cash, all right?
Oh, I don't have PayPal. No. But I do have Venmo.
Hey.
Any more stories about what it's like to shoot during the pandemic from either of you guys?
Pretty much the same old, just with the mask.
Chris, my advice to you would be, don't go near anyone you don't have to when your mask is off. Jen and I were at a wedding. We were eating food with all the other vendors because they put all the vendors at like a table together. Everybody's sitting there talking and, eating their food. And about halfway through, like everybody eating, one of the vendors just stands up, puts her mask on, and starts to like walk away. Somebody says like bye, and she's like, "Oh, I should probably have told you guys this. My husband's currently waiting to get his COVID test because he has results from his COVID test because he has a fever." Spent the whole time sitting at the table with us, talking to us, doing everything. Never once like took the time to say like, maybe I shouldn't be here, period, today, because my husband might have COVID and he has a fever, and maybe I'm putting everybody else at risk by being here. Thankfully, she didn't have COVID. We didn't get COVID, but it was just like, nobody cares about anyone but themselves.
Look, I'm not going to say that. Like, I'm quite a compassionate person. Like, for example, one of my traditional things when I'm someone's celebrant is that before
Josh, give me all your money. Give me all your money. See, nobody cares about themselves. If Josh cared, he'd be sending me all his money through PayPal right now.
Well, there's different ways of caring. So the way I care for my couples to make sure we're all COVID safe is before I pronounce them husband and wife and they have the opportunity to kiss, I would normally make out with each one of them individually, kind of like their last make out with someone else before they become married.
Like during the ceremony, like up in front of everybody.
Yeah. It's a very visible. Like, so these days, strippers before the wedding aren't that kind of like, it's a bit yuck. So this is my like kind of tamed down version where we just make out with the couple like in front of everyone. But I haven't been doing that through COVID. I don't want to do that through because it's not safe. So
is that
now
called pulling a withers?
It's pulling a withers. It is. That's where the term came from. I just stick my tongue in their ear now, and it's COVID safe. It's still affectionate. It kind of has the similar value, but with COVID safe.
It's got a little tilt to it too, doesn't it? Like it kind of like sends goosebumps all up and down your body. That's nice. Kind of nice feel.
Yeah, no, but it's really been well received by my couples.
Do you ever have any grooms or brides that just kind of afterwards they're like, I changed my mind?
Oh, no, see, look, I've had that a lot actually, and I said, no, you're a married person now. We can't be doing this shit. I'm a married man. Like
I just married you.
After
making out with you and tonguing your ears.
But that was before I pronounced them husband and wife, Steve. Like, please look at this through sensible eyes. Don't be an idiot.
And your lovely wife Britt gives you a hall pass for every single couple that you have. So
I could
it's
just
all
I
good.
could see Josh just like doing one of these where he like kind of puts his hand up to each of their foreheads to check their temperatures.
Well,
No,
that's
you
also
guys
the
feel
tongue.
good.
The tongue in the ear is also sensing the temperature.
That's a sensitive tongue.
No, your
Are you
tongue
good?
is one of the most sensitive organs you have in your body.
Are you one of those guys who can like taste all the flavors of wine? There's like a name for that.
Yeah, awesome person
yeah.
is what they call me.
Yeah, or Josh Withers.
Yeah.
So Molly Maher from our very own Facebook group says, I'm going to have to use an associate shooter for a wedding in July, and I haven't used one before. I got a contract that I'll be sending to the other photographer who owns their own business in the same
Same as
market.
me.
Anything, considerations I need to think about or things to keep in mind before sending it or while working with them?
I would probably just get in touch and say, hey, you remember the contract you signed? Well, bitch, I'm enacting it. I am contracting you damn hard.
Mm.
I hope you read the contract and I hope you know what was in it because we're going to adhere to that.
And then if you're with them in person, once again, another Josh Withersism, just put your tongue in their ear. They like it.
Who doesn't?
Someday, Josh, I'm gonna meet you in the United States of America, Australia, maybe some other country. Who knows? You get around a lot. I don't get
Somalia.
around as much as you do, but and I just hope that I get a tongue straight in the ear first thing.
I'm imagining someone somewhere is listening to this that works for like Bose or Clisp or like one of the headphone manufacturer, and they're like, I have an idea. We're gonna make Josh Withers headphones where we mold his tongue, and that goes into your ears, and it creates these most synergy perfect audio type headphone.
I'm
thing.
actually already working on it with Bose. You've heard of the Quiet Comfort. These are the very comfort.
the wet comfort.
It's the hate canceling very comfort 30s.
Hate canceling. I love it.
Just-
Where's the Kickstarter for that? Let me get on that.
It cancels out all the other hateful frequencies in your life and just inserts.
It's funny because I can picture it. I'm kind of like into that. Like I kind of want to try that out, Josh.
Yeah, and I get into it, mate. I'm behind it all the way.
More like you're beside it.
Hey.
Dustin, do you have any advice
See,
for Molly? You've used associate shooter.
Not as much as you. I like to use the same associates all the time. Whereas I know, especially with COVID, a lot of people have been just kind of due to rescheduling and booking dates that they are already booked. They're kind of just farming weddings out without hoping to lose all of their income. So they're paying people, an associate rate or slightly above. But all I can do is recommend finding, a solid associate contract, something stating that, they can or can't use the photos for their own portfolio or social media. That's kind of up to you and your preference. And then whether, what that looks like in terms of how they deliver the photos to you and what their, rights and communication are with the couple post and pre-wedding. I like to try to handle as much of everything as I can. So that way I take as much responsibility off my associates. So all they have to do is show up on the wedding day with a timeline and a little bit about the couple. And it's sort of like speed dating from there. They got to figure it out. And a lot of, I found this out through trial and error, but most associate shooters hate this and they're very uncomfortable with this. Because most associate shooters also are wedding photographers on their own right. And so they like that level of control where they've gotten to know the couple and they've kind of experienced the couple. Maybe like Josh, they put a tongue in their ear at one point, and for them, it's very difficult to just show up and not know anything. Whereas for me, I associate shot for the first 3 years of my photography career. So I would show up and I would barely even know their names. I would get their names the day of the wedding and an address the morning of the wedding or the night before. That's all I had to go off of. And so for me, like, I got really good at getting a lot of information sort of slyly, like, oh, so who's the bride? Like, where's the
So
bride at in
sly.
here?
Did
And
the big dress gonna give it away? Like, was that
who wants to show me their dress?
like some
Let's
4-year-old girl was like, "I'll show you my dress. It's really pretty, ballerina
let's,
dress."
let's play show me your dress.
I like this system because you actually hit on a new thing Jen and I are trying out this year. Because we've had so many reschedules and cancellations and stuff, and we're utilizing more associate shooters than we have in the past. We're actually giving our couples the choice on their wedding day. And much like you said with the speed dating, we just send 3 associate shooters out to their wedding, and they have a minute to get to know each one, and then they have to make a final decision
Does your
on
couple
which
get
one
a
they're going to use.
rose?
Shooter. Yes, our couple definitely does get a rose, and they give a
Man.
rose to to the shooter they want to go with, and then we actually give them a petunia too, and they give that to the one they want as the second shooter. So then the third person's just out, and they don't get any money for the day. And so far, it's been working really well for us.
And then the third person's just shot on site, or
Yeah, I mean that's at the couple's prerogative. It is written into our contract that they are allowed to shoot the third person if they want. So
welcome to
far, no one's
Indiana,
taken
baby.
it up on that,
Pro
but yeah.
gun.
The shooter becomes the shootee.
Exactly. No, you're like, okay, if you weren't selected, we have another wedding 2 blocks down at St. Mary's. Get your ass down there.
I
Get your
had
ass down there, get your tongue out of here, and see if it works out.
I had a sunrise elopement in Dubrovnik a couple of years ago, and the photographers were Australians, friends of ours, who were on the way to join us, and there were major flight issues, and they ended up they were like an 8-hour drive away because of flights and weather and whatnot. And so at 10 p.m. at night, before a 5 a.m. sunrise elopement, because if you're going to have a wedding or an elopement in Dubrovnik, you've got to do it at sunrise,
Oh,
because
for sure.
the place is madness after about 6 a.m. At 10 p.m., we found this photographer duo from Bosnia, and they drove overnight to Dubrovnik to shoot for us at 5 a.m. And myself, being the celebrant and also leading the elopement, and the photographer and videographer, we walk into the hotel to meet the couple, and I just whispered into the groom's ear. I said, "This isn't the people you thought it was," and they're really nice guys. We kind of turn to them, they wave. It's like a movie. It's like some kind of weird comedy movie. And they were amazing. Like, they did the best job. Like, I'm still so proud of those Dubrovnik photos. So I would say couples probably wouldn't even notice.
Exactly. There was once, because the company I worked for in New York, we did probably 3 weddings every day on the weekends, and so in the owner of the studio would just have a file for each couple, and he would hand it to the lead shooter. And on one of the instances, he mixed up the files, and so we showed up to the wrong wedding, and he went to ours and we went to his, and nobody was the wiser until about halfway through, when the main photographer, I was second shooting this particular wedding, the main photographer was like, I could have sworn I was supposed to shoot at this place with this couple, like maybe I'm losing my mind. And so she texts the main photographer, and he's like, yeah, we totally accidentally switched files and shot the wrong weddings. He's like, let's just
That's how
roll
you
with
know
it.
you're getting that nice personal touch from a company. And it's so good to hear about that, because when people are booking for these weddings, they really want that bespoke feeling, like they're really being cared for. And it's just
That
great to hear
bespoke
stories like
freedom
that
edit
where you can
feeling.
coming through. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't help but feel that you're possibly joking, Steve, because I just want to bring up, I'm a little bit offended that you're saying that all bride and grooms look the same. A little bit racist there, Dustin.
It's true, they do. They all seem to wear a white dress. I don't control the dress game. I have nothing to do with the wedding dress industry. But I think there's some trends out there that make all of them look the same. And it's a lack of color.
Wow. Wow.
Pigment, I don't dye.
Just
do ethnic.
step back, Steve. Let Dustin bury himself here, mate. We're just gonna have to excuse ourselves off the podcast here.
They don't do weddings for other cultures in Fort Wayne. So yeah.
Do we?
Just do you? Have you ever done a wedding for any other culture?
I wanted to do an
'Cause white is
Amish
really
wedding.
just like an American European thing. Australian too, right? I don't know. Let's move on. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Wedding Photo Hangover podcast. If you love the show, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple
Or
Podcasts.
six.
If
or six.
you want to, we're at Wedding
hell
Photo
out of
Hangover on
here.
Instagram. That's and I'm at Steven Van Elk. And Josh is at Ahoy Josh.
.com.
Hello, Josh.
All the-
Which
so-
one do you want?
At Hello Josh Withers. Honestly, at Ahoy Josh Withers, no one's following me. It's not going to get there. But honestly, if I could get like past 10,000 on at Hello Josh Withers, I just want to share some sweet links in my stories. That's all I'm saying.
It's like what everybody wants. I just want the followers so I can swipe up. Damn it! Just give me the swipe up Instagram.
It's all I don't want to have engage. Like please don't message me or comments or we don't have to do anything. Just
Don't have
just
to
get me the
become
swipe up.
friends.
No.
You know, if you have a bot farm with like 1,000 bots, just send them all over to follow hello at Josh or at hello Josh Withers. Right.
Not
Definitely,
to be
yeah.
confused with I am Josh Withers.
that's my photography account.
We
Doing
have
lots
an
of
awesome
shooting
Facebook
around Washington.
We have a Facebook group you guys should join. Just search for Wedding Hangover on Facebook. If you want more content, head over to the Patreon by going to patreon.com/WPH. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time your head is found and your limbs feel like dead weight and your entire being aches for the sweet embrace of death. That's right. Next week, after you shoot another wedding or sit at
Go to
home
Disney?
thinking about how you shoot weddings or whatever.
Lick people in the ear at a wedding.
Josh, before we close this whole thing down, Josh, what a good. How are things going over there in Australia? What you up to other than about to have a baby?
So, apart from the fact we're about to increase the population of Australia by +1, apart from that, I'm about to enter the busiest season of my life because I had something like 80% of last year's weddings and elopements moved to this year, and so from Feb 25 until sometime in September, I'm just working every day. It's just going to be crazy. Literally in March, I think I've got 3 or 4 days where I'm not standing in front of a ceremony. And lots of travel around Australia. And then they keep on opening and closing borders. So God knows if I'm going to be able to do the things that I'm contracted to do. I've got about 6 court cases coming up with couples that want refunds. So I just got the first court date for one of those. That's going to be exciting. March 3. Thoughts and prayers. It's a weird time to be alive.
Do you need Steven and I to fly out there and represent you?
I do actually, which is I was really desperately subtly trying to drop a hint there. But I figure you guys have got nothing on this year, so just come and join the Josh Withers team.
I've got a lot of Australian stuff going on. I'm real good at that. So
We just need to work on our accents.
Yeah, well, honestly, just talk to Ian, Steve's boy. I've given him a pretty solid lesson this afternoon, sorry, on how to talk Australian, and I think he's got a hang on it.
We just walk into the magistrate's office with our fosters. We slam them down and we just say, "Not guilty." And I think that's it.
That's the
my
whole
understanding.
Australian experience. Yeah.
Or Josh, when you go in, if Steven and I can't make it, I want you to use some of the same strategies used for us, just where you say, "Hey, Judge, I just want to try something. Look right here in my eyes, and I want you to, Josh Withers is not giving a refund." And then you just kind of before everything gets going, and then just get him to say no. I knew you could say no.
maybe you could just Arnold Schwarzenegger it and just say look at me, I'm the judge now.
Go sit in his chair. Make it a power play, Josh.
Got a power play. Honestly, if there's something judges could appreciate, I think it's the power play.
Go dressed as a judge.
Just grow my hair out, Get it all up in little 12s.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll love that. That'll be really
Little Robin Williams action.
I'm just gonna say this. Can you plead not guilty of having to give a refund by case of insanity? Like, could you just show up naked and just be like, yeah,
Make it.
clearly I give a refund, right?
I was thinking
Does that work?
I was going to do what the who was the guy, the Stop Coney guy? Remember the Stop Coney guy?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and how he was caught masturbating in the street naked.
I must have missed that one.
You didn't see that? So like, because Stop Coney, like, what was the movement behind Stop Coney? Like, was that Make Poverty History? I can't remember.
Coney was child soldiers in Africa.
Yeah, so whatever that whole movement behind Stop Coney was, yeah, that guy, because it just kind of blew up. Like, it was, I'm not going to say it's one of the first viral things, but it's probably one of the most viral things of that season. And it just all got too much and too big for him, and he just went insane. And the police locked him up. He was like masturbating on the street naked, like just gone. He went crazy. I've just always imagined that if I ever get too famous, that'll be my out.
So option 2, when you walk into the courtroom, is immediately turn to the people suing you and just say, hey, I know you want the Withers experience. I'll still lick your ear if we can just let bygones be bygones.
Let's just call the whole thing off. And then I just start pointing at people. Fuck you, you're cool.
Yes.
But I have to make sure at least more than 50% of the people are identified as you're cool, because I want to win.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
What if someone's like, I don't identify with, I'm cool?
Man, look, honestly, existing on the planet's hard. If I've learned anything in the last year, it's that existing just as a person, it's a complicated thing. So, I'm cool with them not being cool.
Try being a liberal in a very conservative state.
I definitely hear you on that. I'm glad that I live in the Texas of Australia.
Isn't
Our
all of
Texas is
Australia
currently covered in snow, so.
Oh, sorry, no snow here. Just we're just a bit hick up here in Queensland. Just a bit hick.
That's all you need. I like a little touch of hick. As long as it's like a cousin touching you or something, just a little touch.
Well, all of the cousins here, we do each other's ears. Just a little bit of tongue in the ear.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to another episode of what I don't know how to.
I've got a whole other topic. I want to talk about how DJI hasn't dropped a new Mavic Pro yet. It's been like 3 years. No, we should go. I've got a pregnant wife who probably needs to get to the kitchen and get food. She's been in the bedroom waiting for the podcast to end so she can walk behind me.
She can walk behind. It's okay.
We've all had pregnant.
Steve's cat's been walking behind him the whole darn episode.
Yeah. It's been making a lot of noise. It's crazy.
It's having kittens.
No, it's a male cat, and it's been
surprise.
They cut off its balls.
That's what you think.
All right, Josh, we will let you go then, so that your wife can walk into the kitchen.
Thanks for having me, and thanks everyone on Facey. I'm gonna shut down the old live Facebooky thingy, stop the live stream. That's done, and I'll drop you some recorded files, old Steve-O.
Wedding Photo Hangover was edited this week by Steve Van Elk of Bespoke Tone. Go to Bespoke Tone for all of your photo, video, and audio editing needs.